So now that we've seen what people think, are there any other benefits to cutting back on meat?
Well, it's more healthy to have a more vegetarian diet. If you eat more beans, legumes instead of meat, you have less saturated fat, also more fibre in your diet. It's also a lot cheaper. And it's better for the environment too, because it takes a lot less land to produce vegetables than for raising animals. And also it requires far less water to grow crops.
Okay, you raise an interesting point there about the economics of this. If this took off as a global phenomenon, wouldn't this change the balance of the global markets in terms of exporting and importing meat?
Possibly New Zealand would then export more, like in the Canterbury area, we, for example, produce a lot of wheat. Countries like Australia that are becoming drier and drier, their capacity to continue to be a wheat exporter is diminishing. So countries like New Zealand could help take up the slack, for example.
Okay. Thank you for coming on the show. You've given our viewers something to think about here in terms of stopping eating meat and helping the environment. Thank you. It's been really interesting to have you. Have you got any thoughts to add to that, Jeff?
I think that it's important that people consider eating less meat, both for dietary reasons, health reasons, enabling the world to be fed, because meat is a very poor converter of energy. Right. I think the argument that food production in any form, whether it be through eating less meat or whatever, this has no relevance to the global warming debate. The amount of methane is trivial. The contribution of human emissions in total is trivial, and there is no firm science yet to suggest that global warming is even happening, given that all predictions now are for several decades of considerable global cooling.
There was a meeting at the Hutton Theatre, though, a scientist that's measuring temperatures and the ice in Antarctica and so on, and she said the prediction is for a 3 degrees C temperature rise over the next 100 years. I mean, there's obviously conflicting views.
Oh, there are, and the ice cores have largely been discredited as evidence for global warming. They in fact show that carbon follows temperature. It is much more likely that the linkages with the sun, and as we head into a prolonged solar minimum, we should be concerned about global cooling rather than warming issues.
Okay, you've definitely given our viewers something to think about now. Okay, now we're going to cut to Scott for the numbers game.
Political, really. We're going to start off actually with that financial market. 4 billion euros, is what Russia has loaned to Iceland in order to keep their economy afloat. 1.4 trillion also being what the IMF sees it's going to cost the US in mortgage write-downs. 4% also in there for the gold price. It's risen 4% as we look at people using it as a safe haven for money, which is interesting as the rest of commodities continue to fall. Also in politics, number 4 is the point lead that Obama has over McCain for that election, which is on the 4th of October. Remembering though, it's this close, it could be still a little bit of a lottery, just like Powerball, 24 million to one very lucky person. Quite unlucky though as the poor mammals, 1 in 4 of them are expected to be extinct in the next few decades. So, with those numbers to think about, I'm going to leave you on a break, and when we get back we're going to be talking politics with Tash on the couch and giving you the news and information that you can use tomorrow.
What have you heard about biofuels?
Biofuels? Well, a little bit. They're kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, an alternative to petroleum, but there's lots of environmental issues around their production, particularly the clearance of rainforest in tropical countries.
Well, the world food crisis that we're having at the moment has made a lot has been caused partly because of this surge in use of biofuels, because the crops that were supposed to be being used for food have started being used for petrol, but I guess they're more environmentally friendly kind of petrol, but kind of coming at a different cost. I did hear about some sort of algae biofuel that could be used as well, but I'm not really quite sure.
Would you be willing to have one meat-free day a week if it meant helping the environment?
We eat meat about 4 or 5 times a week, and yep, I would be alright not eating meat.
I'd, in all honesty, say no, just because since I work out and stuff like that, you kind of need meat, part of your dietary intake and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm not vegetarian because it would be quite difficult, but most of the time I do eat vegetarian food, and yes, like, I'd be willing to have like more than one day a week meat-free, especially to help the environment.
What's your opinion on the political campaigns this year?
Actually, I haven't looked at any of the political campaigns at all, so I don't even think I've voted.
Sort of follow them, but don't really know that much about them.
But I'm fairly fractious and superficial and trivial would be my assessment so far.
It seems like National are really putting a lot of money and effort into their campaign for change, but other parties haven't really like stepped up to it yet. But I suppose we still do here, like about a month ago, yeah, more than a month. So, but yeah, definitely, I think parties really do need to be proactive in letting the population know about what their policies are, because so many people are really apathetic and don't really go out for themselves to find things that needs to be kind of put out there in public eye. So.
We'll see.